This is the Altis Sigma. It's the newest and baddest affordable eMoto in town that pushes out a claimed peak power of 22.5 kilowatts out of its 98 volt 35 amp hour battery. It also offers much higher quality, less mountain biking components without a 5-digit price tag. I would consider this a middleweight eMoto because it weighs about 185 pounds, that the manufacturer claims. They also claim you'll be able to get around 40 to 50 miles of range on this thing. Overall, it's a very impressive bike for $5,500. Huge shout out to my friends over at Voro for sponsoring this video. If you're looking to pick one of these up, use the link down below. Voro is a fantastic team of guys out there in LA. They have their own retail store and they've been around for a very long time, so they're definitely the ones you want to go to. This version right here is the pre-production version of the Sigma, and we're going to dive deeper into specs a little bit later on. I assume you're here to see some riding, so we're going to take it up a couple fun and fast trails and then end off with a top speed test. So yeah, let's get to it. Alright, let's just get straight into the riding. Had 2 cups of coffee and the pouch is in. Let's see what this thing's got. Ooh, squirrely on the back tire. Now this one I have right here is the 1919. You can get the MX version, which has the 1916 a mullet setup, which I definitely wish I had right now. So here we go, full throttle in race mode. Super smooth. Whew. Man, I've been so excited to ride this thing. This has been all over the headlines. Everyone has been talking about the Altis Sigma. So to finally have this in my hands, finally my turn to give it a go. Shout out to my friends at Voro for letting me use this thing for the morning. I gotta give it back today because, again, this is one of the few models they have in the country and every YouTuber is giving it a go. All right, here we go, full throttle. Woo! You know, I'll be honest, I thought this was gonna be a lot more intense, that power. I mean, I'm in race mode and everything, but that wasn't too bad. It's sneaky. Like, I actually did a drag race with this one versus my eRide Pro that has the EBMX 9000 controller. And while it was a lot quicker in every race we did, it didn't feel that intense. I think that's the craziest part that's shocking me right now. There we go. Yeah, that torque is nuts. 600 Newton meters of torque this thing is knocking out, and 22.5 kilowatts. Like, that's insane. And you can pick all this up for $5,500. It's pretty amazing how about 3 years ago, if you wanted to be, you know, king of the ride out, you had to have a 72 volt Sauron that could knock out like 17 kilowatts of power, and it cost like 10 grand to build. Had a little voice crack right there. That wasn't very Sigma of me. I would love to get some better tire. Oh, it's doing the thing again. Look at that. I had a eBike breakdown. So this one I'm riding is the pre-production bike that you've seen all over YouTube. This is the one that literally every other YouTuber has ridden. I think I'm the last one to get it. And a slight software issue it has is that it'll go into park. You see that right there? Which means that I have no drive. Now, given the fact that it is pre-production, that's just unfortunately how it goes. So I gotta pull over and try and fix that. Otherwise, this test ride is over and we will have no more fun. And none of you will like and subscribe. One thing that I love about bikes like the Sigma is that they're finally getting rid of the mountain bike stuff. Pretty much everything on this, from the brakes to the suspension, you know, the wheels, all this stuff is proper dirt bike stuff because most people threw out those parts the second they bought them anyway. So if you can buy a bike for $5,500 and not feel the need to swap anything out, I think that's a good thing. I'm gonna do the old trick of the laptop reboot. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is take this thing over to my more technical trail and see how that would handle. Man, I really wish I had that 16-inch rear on the back right now. The benefit to having a 16 as opposed to the 19s that this one come with is that you just have so much more traction, feel, and control of that back tire when you're riding off-road. Now, if you plan on riding on the road more and want to swap to a more supermoto setup, the 1919 will be fine. But for me, as someone who rides off-road a lot more, woo! Oh, okay, I gotta slow down. God, that is so quick. I have no idea how fast that is, but that's too quick for me off-road. One bump and this thing's gonna get a head shake. Now, compared to the other bikes that are in this price range, because I wouldn't say this is lightweight. This is not in the lightweight class. This belongs more with like the Sauron Ultra B, bikes like that. This is almost 200 pounds. I've had a couple of other claims that this weighs like 186. That's what they claim from the factory. John Hicks weighed his and it said 200 pounds. So this is definitely on the heavier side, and you notice it. Yeah, if I was on with some of the lighter bikes, it would just dance up this trail. This one, obviously I'm still getting used to it, but it just doesn't quite have that same light on its feet agility that the other bikes have.
lean it through this turn. Tight one here. So we do a little jumpy jump. Woo, not bad. I don't have a lot of trust in that front. All right, let's head back down the technical trail and see it will handle that. This is something that the lighted bikes, they're just so good at this trail. And this heavy one, maybe not so much. Oh, that front's a little bit loose for me. Yeah, I'm a lot more cautious on this with that extra weight. Oh, I just gotta get used to it, man. I just gotta get used to it. Suspension is excellent. All right, man, handle that pretty nicely. But yeah, getting back to size, man, when you sit down on this thing, because the rear sets are so high, your legs definitely do that chicken wing thing. Also, you sit right in the middle of it. The handlebars on your hands are very close to your knees. Very tight feeling bike. Again, if you're a taller guy, might be a little bit uncomfortable. If you're above 6'2", I'd say this might be a bit small. Beautiful. What a way to spend a Saturday morning, testing out one of the best new e-bikes on the market. By myself, I'm breaking the #1 rule of off-road riding. Never ride alone. But whatever, dude. Perfect, man. So easy to wheelie. There is a little bit of battery rattle, has to be said, but it could be the seat because, in fact, the seat's broken. Again, man, this pre-production bike has been through a lot of hands. It's kind of like oh, never mind, I'm not saying that. I gotta keep this PG on Rider Guide. Go again. Whoa, whoa, almost stuck it. Whoa! Power out of it. Gotta love a bike, you can power out of problems. It's a shame life doesn't work like that. Oh yeah, this thing is deaf. But the one thing I'm also noticing is that head is pretty loose, man. If you're not careful, you can catch a head shake on this. One thing I did not do before riding this was setting the sag. Again, I only had this thing for a day, so I don't really have the opportunity to set this thing up for my weight and my riding style. But yeah, that can be adjusted out. Big ruts. Woo, woo. Man, dude, I'm fucking squawking like a seagull, dude. Whoa, shit. Just a random bunch of twigs? Tweakers really be up to some weird stuff out here. All right, we reached the end of my off-road trails, and there is almost a straight desolate road. I wonder what we're gonna do next. Obviously, this is a closed course in Mexico, and I'm a professional rider, so nothing illegal going on here. All right, so I'm in race mode. I'm at 70% battery. Let's see what we got. Try to keep that front wheel down. Now, this is in kilometers an hour. Woo! That ride was getting real bumpy there. I saw 115 kilometers. Obviously, I got the GPS on board, as you can see. I have no idea how fast this is. This is quick. All right, so my dash said 115 kilometers an hour, which is a little over 60. I'd say that was about 70 miles an hour. That's what it felt like. So I started out at 100% battery, and I'm currently at 62%. Obviously, I've been in race mode the whole time. Let's go back down to sport and see how that feels. Yeah, in sport mode, in sport mode, there is certainly a governor. 93 kilometers an hour, that's like 57 mile an hour? I'm not sure. All right, so we are back to the start. I am at 48% battery. But okay, test ride done. Let's talk about the specs.
Like I mentioned, you get a 98 volt, 35 amp hour battery, and they claim you'll be able to get around 40 to 50 miles of range. Now in race mode, I would say you can get about 20 miles of range without doing anything too crazy, but thankfully you have 3 other riding modes like normal, sport, and eco. Now I didn't get a whole lot of time to test those other modes because I only had it for like an hour and a half, so obviously no full range test, no real experimenting with the other modes. But overall, with that big battery, you ride this thing in normal mode, I'd say yeah, you could probably get about 35 to 40 miles on that battery, but ultimately I don't really know, I didn't do a full test. Moving on to some of the components, this thing features a gearbox instead of the typical belt drive like you'll find on some of the cheaper bikes. Now the good thing about a gearbox is that they're just a lot stronger, they will last a lot longer, and it's much more suited for a bike like this that's knocking out all that power. You're also getting what's called a hairpin motor instead of the typical brushless motors, and much like the gearbox, it's kind of the same thing. It's just a bit stronger, a bit more durable, a bit more efficient. I'm no expert on motors, so I truly don't know apart from what I learned on Google and YouTube, but apparently Tesla uses hairpin motors, which is good. Their stock is rising like hell right now, and I sold all my shares 3 weeks ago. But wait, it gets better. You're also getting proper motorcycle style brakes with this bike instead of the typical mountain bike stuff. You get a nice thick 3mm rotors on this thing, and they stop on a dime. I didn't notice any brake fade whatsoever. Moving on to tires, wheels, and suspension. These tires are the CST ones. I think they're actually the same ones that come on my eRide, and they're perfectly fine, but they wear out within 25 minutes or so you'll want to change them. The wheels, kind of like the rest of the bike, just seem to be a bit stronger and a bit high quality compared to the cheaper competition, and the suspension as well. I didn't hit any crazy jumps on this thing, so I don't know if it's like my Sleep Number mattress or anything like that. But as far as stock suspension on a $5,500 bike goes, feels pretty good to me. One awesome feature this bike comes with that I wish every other manufacturer would copy is the fact that you can just go into the bike and adjust a ton of different settings without having to download a stupid, annoying app. You can adjust the throttle response, the regen settings, you can even turn off and on the tilt and brake sensors, whereas, you know, on the cheaper bikes, you usually cut them off or just taking them off altogether. You can just turn them off on the bike inside the display. That's awesome. Everybody else copied that. The seat height on this bike is about 33 inches, and it's overall the same size as my eRide. So that's all the important stuff in the specs. Let's move on to some likes and dislikes. All right, let's start with the fun section, right? Dislikes. What do I dislike about the Sigma? Obviously, it's a pre-production bike. I can't hate on it for not being ready, but I would say if I had a complaint, it would be the size. Even for someone like me who's 5'10", a nice boring average height, it felt pretty cramped. If I owned this bike, I would definitely get some adjustable rear sets just to kind of bring those pegs down a little bit so it got a bit more legroom. Overall, I think this bike could have benefited from just being a little bit bigger, kind of like the Soren Ultra B. But that's ultimately my only real complaint about this bike. Again, I didn't really have it for all that long, but yeah, just a bit cramped. Like I already mentioned, I love the fact that you can adjust a ton of stuff on this bike without a stupid, annoying app that never works properly. And also, I like that throttle curve. It's so perfectly dialed in for a bike that has this much power. Now, initially, I thought this thing was going to be an absolute monster. I thought it was going to be like a nuclear bomb going off underneath me, but it was nothing like that at all. Now, don't get me wrong, you can definitely get yourself in a lot of trouble on this bike, especially if you're a beginner. It also wheelies excellently. It's a fantastic wheelie bike. I'm not very good at wheelies, but it does them very well. Overall, for the price, this thing really does set a new standard with all the quality components that come on this thing. It's going to be interesting to see how this further heats up the competition moving forward. I can't wait to ride the production version of this thing because they kept on saying, like, you know, this one is going to be nothing like the production version, so I don't know. If you want to buy an Altis, go ahead and hit the link down below. You'll be helping out the channel and me feed my cats, so we'll greatly appreciate that. And yeah, man, thank you so much to Voro for letting me use the bike for the morning, and see you all next time.